time for our guest. And she's a beautiful lady and a libertarian. And we're going to learn all about the Mises Caucus and other things. And welcome to the show, Angela McArdle.
Hey there. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming on. Should I do it this view or should I zoom? I'm going to zoom out because I want people to see your guitar. Can you explain to me better what the Mises Caucus is?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
Okay.
so exciting. So, I was active in the Libertarian Party before the caucus existed, but a lot of people were not because they were not really happy with the direction of the National Libertarian Party. It was like low energy, low self esteem, not exciting, was not really pushing the boundaries in any respect. I mean, maybe in a couple of gross ways, right? Ugh, like age of consent stuff, Okay, we get it. We get it. And there was this real like anti Ron Paul sentiment that had built up in the party for just like a few years. And it was sort of like the party was attacking a lot of the thought leaders and institutions that make libertarianism popular and make it mainstream and make it really rad. So the Mises Caucus was sort of born out of opposition to that, saying, no, 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 the Libertarian Party should be the home of the Ron Paul Revolution. This is where we should be really championing individualism, economic literacy, civil liberties beyond just a couple of token things. Like there's a lot more civil liberties out there than abortion, for
Hmm.
example. So, so the caucus was formed, and I joined within a couple of months. And they're really passionate about Austrian economics, so economic literacy, single issue coalitions, so working with people on the left or the right, whether it's decriminalizing cannabis or whether it's opposing lockdowns and mandates. They're also really passionate about local elections because that's where you get your start, right? You gotta start stacking political capital somewhere if you want to be taken seriously, and that's where you can make like a real change too. You have a much better chance of getting elected. So that's sort of what we worked on, and then of course we worked on internal party reform. So we started taking over state parties one by one, growing membership, getting people involved, learning the political process, all the really boring or cringe or exciting inside baseball of the LP. Just depends. Such a wide range. And it took us about 5 years, and we took over the Libertarian Party. It's not too shabby.
Yeah. That
Not too
does
shabby.
that sounds pretty quick.
Yeah, right. It's the third largest political party in the country. We took it over in 5 years. So
What do you attribute that to? Just better organization and finding the right people?
absolutely better organization and having something to rally around, because you can't just say, hey, join this thing because it sucks. Like you got to have something to coalesce around. And talking about Ron Paul and really upholding like the Mises Institute and really like leaning into the guidance of people like Tom Woods, and Jeff Deist, and saying, hey, these guys, what they've created with the Mises Institute and elsewhere, it's incredibly valuable. We should try to emulate some of these ethics and norms within the party. This is good stuff. That got people excited. So that's
What
how we did it.
what was it about Ron Paul that got people so excited? Because he's like a
The,
lovable guy kind of on the surface, but
he is. I think there's a few things, right? So he actually managed to get people excited about ending the Federal Reserve.
oh
That
wow.
is that is weird and impressive. And
Because
he
it's
had a
such an institution. It's like, how do you
right.
possibly take down something that big?
Well, and you don't think about ending the Federal Reserve as this really like sexy talking point for young people, but there were a ton of young people who were really engaged. But beyond that, I think he had two really critical moments. One was the Giuliani moment during the debates, I believe in 2008 or 2007 leading up to 2008, where he got on stage and talked about 9/11 and explained the concept of blowback. And Rudy Giuliani was like, what? Like losing his mind, saying, you better take that back. And Ron Paul was like, no, I think they're really mad at us. They don't hate us for our freedoms. They hate us because we're over there and we've been over there a long time and
Oh,
nobody's
okay.
talking about it. That's a problem. So that was really impressive. And when he was in another debate in, I think he was in Kentucky, and he straight up said he would decriminalize drugs, even heroin. And the whole like,
Wow.
yeah, right? The whole conservative audience was like clutching their pearls. And he just like really calmly turned it into a joke and was like, oh, come on. You out there in the audience, you telling me if I decriminalize heroin, you're going to go shoot it up? No, you're not.
Mm,
And everybody laughed and was like, you're right. I wouldn't do that. He was like, it just doesn't work. No one should do heroin, but throwing people in prison is just not, it's not effective.
mm. I mean, yeah, they kind of throw themselves into their own prison if they get addicted to it.
Yeah, no kidding.
Crash Mondo again. What about the fence sitters? I had a great talk with Tub last month. I don't know who Tub is, about how he came around to working with us. Do you know who Tub is?
I don't know who Tub is, but I know a lot of fence sitters are coming around, and it's partially because I'm doing the things I said I would do, which is wild. You know, because in a way I'm still a blood sucking politician, right? So people expect me to go back on my word. But we had this big crazy controversy in the party on Sunday where I was like, we're going to donate money to candidates. And then we did. Um,
What?
I know. I know. People were like, the Mises Caucus hates candidates. You just want to take over the Twitter. I was like, we're going to raise money for candidates and then we're going to give it to them. Uh, mm. So, good people who are like skeptical in good faith and unsure about the direction of the party, or maybe they just disagree with us on messaging, whatever, they're seeing that lo and behold, I do actually care about running a real political organization.
Did your parents raise you with sort of libertarian values, or did that come later in adulthood?
So this is really interesting. I grew up in a very traditional conservative home, but but my father was a pastor in the Christian and Missionary Alliance Church. So we always had people coming. I grew up in like Northeast Texas, small little middle of nowhere kind of place. We always had international missionaries coming to the church and to our home, and every horror story was the same. It was, oh, I am a missionary from China, or I'm a Christian from China. I just got unlocked from a tiger cage and torture for 2 years. Or people from Russia. I've met people who crawled out of Pol Pot's killing fields alive after being hit in the head with an axe.
Whoa.
So there was at a very young age, I was very instilled with the do not trust government. It's very evil. Communism is bad. Like those are,
Wow.
yeah, pretty cool.
That's actually awesome. That was the opposite training I had, where I went to college and was like, "Oh yeah, free everything. That sounds great. That sounds like a plan for me." And
Yeah,
I
kind of sus. Kind of sus.
It is kinda sus. Yeah, and I would just sort of I remember early on, I would fight a lot with my dad. I'd be like, "Why can't we help the homeless more?" And he just would get really, really angry and, like, tell me that, he was a landscaper, just that all the types of ethnicities that would screw him over and not pay him what they had. So I was like, "Alright, cool."
Yikes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did a lot of the church outreach, homeless stuff. So pretty chill with homeless people. Just really really hated the government and Democrats. That was a thing.
Wow.
I grew up like like 9 years old watching Crossfire.
That's
We're gonna,
so
we're gonna get
cool.
them this time. I have no idea what we're getting, but we're gonna get them.
And your mom too, or mostly your dad?
Mostly my dad, but my
Yeah.
mom, she's just not as aggressive with the politics.
Yeah. Oh, that's so neat. So how did you find yourself getting more involved? And when did you realize, like, I'm a libertarian?
Well, I was like 17 and I had this very rudimentary understanding. I was just having a conversation with someone, like this older, like rocker dude in our little community. And I was like, yeah, I'm a Republican, but like, I don't really care about gay marriage that much. Like, from a conservative perspective, wouldn't they want the gays to get married and be conservative? This is, yeah, deep philosophical moments, 17-year-old Angela. And I don't really care that much about weed. Like, I see my friends smoke it, I don't smoke it, but they're not like killing people or going like committing robberies. I just don't get it. So he said, oh, you sound more like a libertarian. And I was like, oh, well, I've heard of that before. so then I shall become that. And that was really how
Sign
that
me up.
went. Sign me up. I signed up. And years later, I read The Creature from Jekyll Island, which imploded my worldview and made me terrified of central banking and the Federal Reserve and the
Really?
government.
It's called The
Yeah.
Creature from Jekyll Island?
Yeah. Really good book. Very tedious read. Still highly
Oh,
recommend it.
so not a beach read.
Not a beach read. It's my beach read. It's my beach.
Yeah.
But that imploded my worldview, and I was like, everything I know is a lie. It's not just uh, less taxes and gay people with guns. It's like central banking and everything. We're all gonna die. This is a red alert. And then so I was paranoid and terrified for a few years, and then I heard about Ron Paul, and then I realized everybody else was also terrified of the Federal Reserve, and I'm not alone.
We got a question from West Britannicus. Libertarianism is true leftism. Radical individualism betrays both human nature and human potential. Government is neither inherently good nor bad.
Okay, let's break this down. Libertarianism is true leftism. So I don't know what true leftism would be. I mean, there's a couple of ways to look at it, right? Like the classic political interpretation, but then you could think about it as being chaos on the spectrum of chaos to order. And that's definitely not true because libertarians believe strongly in natural hierarchies. And I think that government actually disrupts that, which is actually quite chaotic.
What is
To
an example of like a natural hierarchy then?
Sure, the family unit
Okay.
organization that comes about spontaneously in groups when a leader emerges, private organizations that have like a structure, like a chair, a boss, whatever, middle management and so forth. Natural hierarchies in the animal kingdom, there's a pecking order, literally. There's all kinds of natural hierarchies. Radical individualism betrays both human nature and human potential. I think that I don't quite understand. Let's see. I mean, that has a lot of implications about human nature and human potential, right? Like,
Yeah.
what are we implying about human nature? Humans are imperfect creatures, right? Like, we're not perfect, so we're going to do good things and bad things, no matter how hard we try. Human potential, I think is very constrained by government.
Hmm.
I mean, you see that with regulatory practices, right? Like with vehicles and transportation. Elon Musk, love him or
God,
hate him, right?
all the hoops that the businesses had to jump
Yeah,
through just to get a little bit of like emergency money, and then the companies that got it that like probably didn't need it, you know.
yeah. And government is neither inherently good nor bad. So I would say it's bad. There are some libertarians who say a little bit is okay. I like to say it's all bad, but I mean, there are aspects of it that are inherently bad, you know.
But if the natural hierarchy is good, like in the example of a corporation, but governments can use corporatism basically to enact their will. So what's the workaround there?
I mean, the workaround would be getting rid of the government. The
And it's just like
workaround.
if a corporation wants to take over, like right, like Larry Sharp's idea, like the Verizon bridge, and then that they put up the advertisements and then they pay all the costs associated.
So, like, the government has a monopoly, right? They have a monopoly on violence. They're the only ones who get to lock you up and send you to prison. They're the only ones who get to like enforce their laws at the end of a gun. Corporations have sort of these monopolies that are propped up by regulatory practices and financial barriers that government enables. But even beyond that, let's look at Google, evil giant mega company. Same with Microsoft, same with a lot of these companies. There's a lot of bad things about them, pros and cons. I love Google search. I like my Gmail. Google Drive is very helpful. Google, pretty sure Google is not bombing children in Yemen. The
Hmm.
United States government is. So if you were to take the lesser of two evils, if you were like, oh, they both suck, I would go with a giant evil corporation.
Hmm. But aren't
Because
they
like,
like selling your information and it's not very private?
oh yeah, I mean, if it was one or the other, I would go with Google, but it's not like the unholy union. It's terrible. But ultimately, you can opt out, and a lot of people have, right? Like they've gone to Proton Mail, they're using other services. You can do it. The thing that really sucks about government is I can't opt out of it, and I would really like to.
Hmm.
I would like to just be like, no, thank you. Like
Yeah.
when someone knocks on your door with like their cult tracks, have a nice day.
Yeah, there's no saying no to it. There's like no
Yeah,
place to go and live
very
when you can.
rapey, very rapey.
Yeah. Yeah, they didn't get my consent.
It's like a Lifetime movie. It's like running away, fleeing, and you keep they're there everywhere you go.
Oh, West Britannicus again for 5. Libertarians are societal Darwinists. That implies we are mere animals rather than being imbued with the divine spark. Libertarianism is anarchism.
Okay. So I don't believe I'm a mere animal imbued with the divine spark. I'm not. Yeah, I'm a little bit confused. Societal Darwinist. I don't
This is
think I'm
like
a
a
mere.
this is like a
Oh,
poem. This is like a
it,
poem that we have to bring to.
it's a nice poem. I feel like I need a professor to help me analyze it. I mean, libertarianism is anarchism a lot of the times, but I'd get in big trouble if I said it was strictly anarchism. Because there are people in the party who believe in the role of government just for the defense of the borders
Hmm.
and maintaining property rights. And I would be so happy if that's all the government was. I would be like, I'll take it. Good enough. Thank you.
Yeah, if they did something with
Yeah.
defending the border, but they're like not even doing that.
Yeah. Rather than being. So I do believe that we're imbued with the divine spark. There's a lot of Christian libertarians who would push back on that really hard. Same with Christian anarchists. They don't view us as mere animals or meat computers.
Yeah, mere animals don't collect DSW or Bed Bath Beyond coupons.
Damn straight. Take that, Yuval Harari, you shill.
Angela, what do you think are I guess, the biggest negative aspects to the Libertarian Party, or like, or the ways in which they have shot themselves in the foot, or just to make themselves kind of unattractive to attracting new people?
I've got a long thesis on this. It's like a
Ooh.
10-part series. Okay, so let's just hit some highlights, right? Poor organizational structure, failure to plan for the long-term future. It's basically been in startup mode for 50 years. That has been very difficult for people to come to terms with and to own it. So maybe also refusal to interact with reality in a meaningful way. So how do we actually move the needle politically? Everybody has an idea or theory. My least favorite words to hear at this point are, I have an idea. I'm like, shut up. Your idea is terrible. Oh my gosh. Um, Inability to connect with the average person. We have a lot of really brilliant people in the party, but they're not good communicators. So we don't know how to communicate our ideas. We're the party of engineers, not the party of marketers. So I've been working on changing that, and then leaning really hard into liberty issues that are not things that regular people relate to. So there are elements in the party in the past that were obsessed with age of consent laws and getting rid of them. I'm like,
And I
can
feel
we
like
put that
those
at the
people are
bottom?
probably creeps.
Can
Yeah.
we put that at the very bottom of our list of concerns? Very bottom. Things like that, or just kind of autistically obsessing over things like seatbelt laws. I agree. It is very frustrating for anybody to get ticketed by the police for not wearing a seatbelt. However, we need to prioritize our needs, and that's probably not at the very top. It's probably not. And then I think also the inability or refusal to engage with people at the local level, which is
Mm.
where you build community and you build trust with people. You also gain political experience there. You also will meet other people who are politically engaged. So we're always going after people who are like armchair philosophers instead of trying to convert people who already have a real vested interest in changing their community.
Oh, okay. So you don't actually, maybe it's not even you don't approach it like politically, really, one side or the other. Be like, what issue do you care about? Like, what
What do you
needs the
care?
most help in this community?
Because almost everybody who's going to a city council meeting, everyone who's attending is mad. That's really like,
Yeah.
you're not going
Or
because you're like, I
or
love them.
you're mad or you're Alex Stein and you're there to troll.
Yeah, which is also pretty awesome. But he wouldn't be trolling if he didn't have reason to troll.
Concerns. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like, hello, why don't you go? I figured this out in LA when we were fighting the mandates. I was like, I don't need to be screaming into a void on social media. I need to be talking during public comment at my city council meetings. And then I found all these people who are really, really pissed off about mandates. People
Wow.
who
Even in
were,
LA, that's kind of refreshing. I
oh,
thought it was
oh
all,
yeah,
I don't know.
no.
Yeah.
People who were very on the left economically, and they were just like, they felt completely isolated and alone because all their lefty friends abandoned them.
Wow.
People who were like really hardcore staunch vegans who were screaming because this stuff has been tested on animals and it has animal additives in it, and it's like it contains, like these cells were cultured on dog kidneys or monkey kidney. I can't put this in my body. You're violating
Wow.
my religious rights. You're violating, yeah.
As
People
with,
who,
yeah, like with actual very religious people, like, yeah,
yeah,
Catholics, getting
yeah,
into the, right, the stem cell usage.
yeah, and like a lot of Catholics, the Catholic Church, has leaned left politically over the past many years, but they're still very pro-life. And so anytime there's talk about aborted fetal tissue or anything of that nature, you're gonna have Catholics freaking out. So yeah, I'm telling you, man, public comment during city council meetings as well. Also, it's hilarious and entertaining. There's a guy who would get on every single
Is it
time.
is it like real life Twitter, basically?
Oh yeah. There's a guy who would get on and he would play circus music in the background and insult everyone on city council and call them all clowns and go through one by one with like,
And you're just allowed to do that. They won't I feel like with
yes,
Alex, they give him the big cane. They try to, like, cut his time.
it depends. Well, you get like 1 to 2 minutes, right? Depends on what you got. I got kicked off one time because they cut off before I was able to speak, and then they went to specific agenda items, and you can only talk about that agenda item. And then I was so mad about mandates. I just kept
Wow.
going, and I threatened to build a guillotine and take it out front of city council. So I was cut off as I was like, "Look for the guillotine! The guillotine!" Ugh.